chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200
saving lives that way.
for any drug, all the drugs they could include beginning next year. And the situation is we're going to make that available to everybody.
Unlike Trump, who murdered my high school friend Michelle with high
And
insulin prices.
that's what we're going to get
She
done.
was rationing her insulin.
Thank you, President Trump.
It's like
We had the
$1,500 or
greatest
something.
economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And
Trump
when
virus
we did,
that you made into
spent
a
the money
genocide by
necessary
lying.
so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the
And
likes
Facebook
of
helped.
which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy.
Yeah, a lot of
credit for the
socialism helped us
military,
from
and
avoiding
no
depression.
wars and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created
Trump virus,
mandates
you
that
made
was
it
a disaster
worse.
for our country. But other than that,
His mandate,
we had
what?
given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, the bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is
Created
absolutely
jobs
killing
for illegal
us.
immigrants. They can't even
Thank you,
work.
President Biden.
It's like part of the problem.
Oh, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he created the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we find ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began.
And
Since
just
Herbert
push
Hoover.
back on the fact that
The
he's
idea
lying
he did
about
something that was
everything.
significant in the military. You know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all faurness to China. It's going
They
to just
passed
force
that
them to
cost
pay us a
on.
lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs.
That's why we have
And the
planes
jobs went
falling
down,
apart.
and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength.
You
with
invited
power.
the Taliban
He got
to
out. It was the
Camp
most
David
embarrassing day in the history
gave up
of our
everything.
country's life.
President Trump, over the last
because
8
you set it
years,
up.
under both of your administrations,
wasn't
the
the most
national debt
embarrassing
soared
day.
to record highs.
Slavery,
And according to a new nonpartisan
freaking
analysis,
slave
President Trump, your
master
administration
wannabe.
approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes
They make
than
every
do
other
now?
country
Because
pay
the
because
tax
we're
cuts
racist.
spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, When we cut the
You
taxes,
murdered
as
a
an
million
example,
Americans
the
and
corporate
like 10
tax was
million
cut
people
down to
worldwide with your
21% from
COVID lies, your
39%,
Trump virus
plus
lies, making
beyond
it a
that.
genocide.
We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the
Ready
liquid
to
gold
start,
right under
but
our
you didn't
feet,
do it?
the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an
Boo-hoo.
unbelievable situation.
You did everything you
with
could
all
to
of the
spread it,
therapeutics and all
to
of the
murder
things that
as
we
many
came up
Americans.
with.
You haven't been charged for that
we
mass
gave him
murder
something
yet.
great. Remember,
You did for
more
Putin,
people
a
died
million Americans.
under his administration.
Because you
even though we
you
had
spread the
largely
virus as
fixed
much as
it.
you possibly
More
could.
people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it. Something which a lot of people don't like to talk about.
Yeah, we could have had a
far
lot
more
less
people
death if
dying
we just had a
in his
responsible government
administration.
instead of a
He did the
liar
mandate, which is a
for
disaster,
Putin trying to
mandating it.
kill most of
The
us.
vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the
They
vaccine.
objected because you
And he did a
brainwashed
very
them,
poor
because
job,
Putin
just a very
brainwashed
poor
them,
job.
because
And I will
Russia
tell
and
you,
America,
not only
and
poor
followed by
there, but
Brazil,
throughout the
had the
entire
most
world, we're
vaccine
no longer
denial
respected as a country.
because of
They don't
Putin
respect our
and
leadership.
Trump
They don't
Putiners.
respect the United States anymore.
And they had the
We're like a
most
third
deaths,
world
too.
nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent. All of the things he's done, we've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The
No, you're just
damage
a
he's done
racist.
to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why
you
he
will
allowed
end the
millions
country
of
if you
people to come in here from
continue.
prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million.
Pretty good numbers.
$1 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child
Tax the
care,
rich.
elder care, making sure that we continue to
But
strengthen our healthcare system.
Could have already done that
making
4 years
sure that
ago,
we're able
too.
to make every
But
single
tax them, yeah,
solitary
tax them. Tax
person,
them back to the Stone Age where their
eligible
mentality
for what I've
came
been able
from.
to do with the with the COVID, excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?